Okay, so today we're just kind of putting together everything that we've been doing lately. So we're going to have a fraction or a decimal or a percentage, and we're going to have to turn it into all of its possible friends. So a few days ago we learned how to take a decimal and make a percentage. What's the easiest way to take a decimal and make a percentage? How can we take any of these decimals and make them percentages?
0.23 would be like 23% because you need a decimal over twice.
To the
Oh, right.
right. So anytime you have a decimal and you want a percentage, you just have to move the decimal 2 positions to the right. That's not new. We've done that before. We're doing it again. So let's do that little segment because that's an easy place to start. So for this one, if we take the decimal and move it right 2 positions, what percentage would we get out of this one?
70%?
That would be 70%. Somebody else, if we do that on this?
230%?
No, you moved it 3. Move it just 2.
23%?
It would be 23%. Somebody on this one, move it twice, again to the right.
6%?
It's 6%. Somebody on this one, we're going twice to the right.
0.4%.
It would be 0.4%. So we've done that before, we're doing it again. For this group, making this change, we're just moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right, and that'll help us make those transitions. Question about that change. That's one of like 6 possible changes they could ask us to make. We've never officially had a lesson where we learned how to turn percentages back to decimals, but you could probably figure that out. What do you think is the way that you could take a percentage and move it back into being a decimal? Move the decimal 2 spaces to the left is true. These have invisible decimals right now. Where are the decimals in these that are invisible? Anytime you don't see a decimal, where is it?
To the left.
To the right. Anytime we don't see a decimal, the decimal's always on the right. So our job is take the decimals that are on the rights of these numbers that are invisible. We're just going to move them left 2 positions.
Oh, I thought it was...
Somebody that didn't do one of those first 4, what do you think about this one? Take the decimal, left twice. Yeah. 0.06 is true. Somebody on that one.
0.14?
It would be 0.14. Somebody on that last one.
1.20?
1.20 is very good, but we can make it great. How could you make 1.20 great? No. It was something we did yesterday on one of your papers. Do you remember? We had like... Yeah, we'll drop that 0. If we have that 0 at the end that we don't need, math always likes to make things shorter. So 1.20, very good. We'll drop that 0 when we get a chance to do it, when we don't need it. Question about that change. How about decimals into fractions? It's been a while. We have done that, but it's been a while since we've done a decimal into a fraction. How can we turn decimals into fractions?
Make it 7/10.
Yeah,
It's
we're
like
gonna...
it's 7's in like the 10th place
Yeah.
of the decimal.
We're going to copy the number, and on the bottom we're going to worry about our place. So just copy the number to the top, place on the bottom. So this, copy the 7, and you said the place is tenths. For 0.23, somebody for 0.23? We'd go 23 over 100. Because this is the tenths place, this is the hundredths place. Somebody for the 0.06.
6 over 100.
We'd go 6 over 100. That's in the hundredths place, so we're pretty good on that. Somebody for this 4 thing.
4 over 1,000?
4 over 1,000 is good. If you have percentages to deal with, you have 2 choices. We could just keep doing what we were doing with our places and stuff. We already made it a decimal, and then we could make the decimal a fraction. What if we wanted to skip that middle? How could you take a percentage and just make it a fraction immediately without that middle zone? What are percentages always out of? Out of 100. So we could put all of these numbers over 100 to make fractions, if you wanted to. Since we already have these, I might just work from these because they're there. That's kind of up to you. This time it doesn't matter. Whether you look at this for the place or whether you look at the percentage, what fraction is this one going to be?
6 over 10. I mean, yeah, 6 over 10.
6 over 100. Because this is in the hundredths place, and percentages mean 100. So it doesn't matter where you look. They're both ending up 6 over 100. This, it doesn't really matter where you look. What are those going to make, no matter which thing you're looking or thinking about? What fraction can we get? 14 over 100. Because if you're looking at this one, we're in the hundredths place. If we're looking at this one, percentages are out of 100. It doesn't really matter. This is a harder one to probably work from. 120 over 100 is probably harder to deal with than dealing with this. This is probably an easier way to make the fraction using the place. Since we ditched the 0, we're not in the hundredths anymore. What are we in now because of that?
Thousands?
No,
Wait, 10.
we're in the tenths. So what fraction can we make 1.2? 1 2/10. So since we're in the tenths place, we could go 1 2/10 on that one. Question about those?
What is your sense of the percentage? Will we still reduce it?
That's an excellent question. People from the room, do you have an opinion? Should we still reduce?
Yeah.
Always. Always reduce fractions. Anytime you have a fraction that you can reduce, you should. Let's come back and reduce our fractions last. But yes, you always want to reduce fractions. If we want to go fraction into decimal, we've already talked about that a good bit today. We've got a lot of ways to do this. What's a way? We ready for an answer for that one? Or no, change your mind?
0.6.
No, that's
Oh,
close.
0.4.
This is 0.4. We're a little cut off, I think, on the video. This is 2/5. 2/5 is going to make 0.4. What's the quickest way to do that?
Look at the chart.
Look at the chart. You know, if we know the chart or have the chart, we can use our chart. What if you don't know or have a chart? What's our other?
Box top.
We could box the
Or
top.
name
So
changer machine.
we could go bottom into top, or we could go name changer machine. Any of that could work. So 2/3. Is 2/3 on your chart?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get anybody who remembers that.
0.6 with
0.6 line over it. 12/25 on your chart?
No.
No. Can you name changer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100.
We could turn the bottom into 100 if you multiplied by,
4.
so the top becomes,
48.
and the decimal would be
48.
48. Is 7/15 on the chart?
No.
No. Can you name changer it?
No.
No. 15 won't go into 100, so you're stuck. What's our always going to work way out?
Box top.
Box the top. Divide the bottom into the top. So somebody grab a scrap of paper somewhere in your area that you have. Just divide. Who goes out?
7.
15.
15 goes out, 7 goes in. And make the 7 like a 7, a point, throw some zeros, just go until it works. We'll get an answer, then we'll get a confirmation from somebody. So first person that answers that, I'm just going to say maybe, and we'll wait for someone else to get in on the discussion.
0.46 is the line over the 6.
Okay, so he says 0.46, he's got a line only on the 6. Somebody else, once you get there, have a thought on this? Same? Okay, so I agree with that. It is 0.46, it is gonna bar the 6. We can give people a few seconds to get caught up if you're in the midstream of that. Is there anybody that's not getting that or wants me to wait? So that's our skill. If we're gonna make percentages, there's a couple ways you can make percentages. Again, we could use the name changer machine. We could go ahead and divide. We could go ahead and use our chart. But if we're gonna make the decimals already, we might as well just keep doing what we were doing here. If you already have the decimal, just bounce right twice. That's probably the easiest thing. So on this, if you bounce that right twice, what's that gonna make us instead of the 0.4? 40. Because if we go 2 spaces, we got an empty, that empty gets a 0. why is this one not gonna be 6D? Even though it's the same size and we're doing the same right twice bounce, because there's a line over that. Do you have an opinion on what it'll make? That's close. Yeah, if we bounce this twice, we are gonna be looking at 66, but there's gonna be a little more to it. Yeah, we can't do the line yet though until we do a point. So we're gonna do a decimal point, another 6, and then we can do the bar. The bar can only go on decimal place positions. So until we've got the decimal on our page and crossed the line, we can't do the bar yet. So we're bouncing twice, and this time we're filling 6s, not 0s, because it was a repeat. This bounced twice. There's somebody from over here, it's all the people over here today. Somebody from over there, the point 48, what do you think? Yep. It'll be 48%. This last one, if we bounce twice, just be careful with the bar.
46.65%.
That is correct. Because remember, this means there's a single 4 and then a million 6s. If you bounce twice, there's a 46, there'd be a decimal, and then the 6 is still under the bar. If there used to be one number under the bar before, there still needs to be one number under the bar now. That's just the way that that's got to be when we move. Question about how we made these transitions? Okay, so there was one new thing we covered that was moving the decimal a direction we hadn't moved it before. We're doing, you're going to think I'm crazy at first, but when you see what the one set is, you'll realize I'm not. We're going to go do 2 sets. There's an HH and an II. The HH is there because there was one day we moved the decimal one way, there was another day we moved the decimal the other way, or there wasn't a day we moved the decimal the other way. So that's like a skill we haven't really reinforced. So we're going to do HH. All HH is going to do is move the decimal 2 to the right and 2 to the left. So 25 of those should take roughly 2 minutes or something. That shouldn't take long at all. We're just moving the decimal 2 to the right or 2 to the left. The main homework's II. II is going to take you a little bit of time. II looks just like the board looks. II is going to be this big table of, they'll give you one of the decimal fraction or percent, and they want you to make the other 2. So HH should be super quick. There's 15 minutes left. Without a doubt, you should get HH done, and then probably some of II. Super speed people might get II done too, I don't know. But again, HH, just move the decimal right or left twice, depending on the directions. II is like this chart that we did. Can you hit the stop? Thank you.